Does this sound familiar? The alarm clock goes off, and before your mind is even fully awake, your body sends its own, much less pleasant alarm. It's a deep, unyielding stiffness in your hips and knees. It's that moment of dread before your feet even touch the floor, where you have to mentally prepare for the pain and the slow, careful process of just getting upright. You might sit on the edge of the bed for a few minutes, bargaining with your own joints, hoping that today might be a little bit better. If you've ever felt that, if you've ever thought your own body was betraying you first thing in the morning, then I want you to know you are in the right place, and this conversation is for you. I know you've likely seen countless videos promising a single magic stretch that will solve all your problems, and I know the disappointment that follows when it either doesn't work or worse, it actually makes the pain more intense. So let me be perfectly clear from the very start. This is not one of those videos. The title of this video, the Before Your Feet Touch the Floor Stretch, is not about a miracle cure. It's about a foundational first step, a different way of thinking about your body that could truly change the way you start your day. We're not going to force anything. We're not going to be aggressive. We are going to be intelligent, gentle, and most importantly, we are going to work with your body, not against it. For those of you who've been on this journey for years, I see you. I understand the frustration. You've been to physical therapy that felt overwhelming. You've had the injections that offered only a fleeting moment of relief. Maybe you've even gone through surgery, only to find the stiffness and pain creeping back in. It's a cycle that can grind you down, not just physically, but emotionally. In fact, scientific studies on the nature of chronic pain have shown that people living with it are up to 4 times more likely to also experience feelings of depression or anxiety. That heavy feeling isn't just in your joints. It's a psychological weight, a sense of hopelessness that can be just as debilitating. You start to fear for your independence. Simple joys, like walking the dog around the block, getting on the floor to play with your grandchildren, or even just carrying the groceries into the house, become monumental tasks filled with negotiation and pain. And when you're told it's just arthritis or part of getting older, it can feel incredibly dismissive, as if your deep personal struggle is being shrugged off. So here's my promise to you today. We're going to spend the next several minutes together on a deep dive. First, we're going to dismantle a huge myth about morning stiffness, a myth that might be the very reason why all that stretching you've been doing hasn't helped. We'll explore what that feeling of tightness really means. Then I am going to guide you, step by step, through a single, incredibly gentle movement you can do in your own bed, before your feet even think about hitting the floor. We'll call it a gentle activation, not a stretch. And finally, and this is the most important part, we're going to talk about why this approach is safer and more effective for severely stiff joints, and how it fits into a larger, more hopeful path forward. This is about giving you back a sense of control and starting your day with a little less dread and a little more confidence. And just a quick but very important reminder, I am not a doctor, and this video is not a substitute for professional medical advice. The information we're sharing is for educational purposes based on established principles of movement and physiology. It is absolutely essential that you consult with your doctor or a qualified physical therapist before starting any new exercise program, especially if you are dealing with severe or chronic pain. They can give you a proper diagnosis and help you create a plan that is safe and personalized for your specific condition. Your safety is the #1 priority. All right, let's begin by tackling the biggest misunderstanding that keeps so many people stuck in a cycle of pain and frustration. We need to completely rethink the word tightness. For years, we've all been taught a very simple equation. If a muscle or a joint feels tight, the solution is to stretch it. It makes perfect, logical sense, doesn't it? It feels like a rope that's been pulled taut. So the intuitive thing to do is to pull on it, to lengthen it, to stretch it out until it feels loose again. Many of us, with the best of intentions, wake up in the morning, feel that profound stiffness in our hips, and immediately try to pull our knee to our chest or perform some other deep, forceful stretch we saw online or in a pamphlet. We are trying to do the right thing. We are trying to help ourselves. But here is the critical piece of information that often gets missed, especially in cases of chronic stiffness from conditions like osteoarthritis. That sensation of tightness is often not what you think it is. As explained by experts in somatic education, that feeling is frequently a protective signal from your nervous system. Think of your brain and nervous system as the hypervigilant security guard for your body. When a joint like your hip or knee is compromised, maybe the cartilage is worn down, there's inflammation, or the surrounding muscles have become weak over time, the security guard goes on high alert. It perceives that joint as unstable and vulnerable. So when you try to move, especially into a range of motion that the brain doesn't feel it can safely control, it hits a panic button. It sends a powerful signal to all the muscles surrounding that joint, telling them to lock down, to contract, to brace for impact. At lockdown, that protective co-contraction of muscles is what you feel as tightness or stiffness. It's your body's way of putting on the brakes, screaming, "Whoa, I don't feel safe here. Don't go any further." So when you try to fight that sensation with an aggressive stretch, you're essentially getting into a wrestling match with your own security guard. Your brain is saying, "Stop," and you're saying, "Go." This can lead to a feedback loop of more pain and more guarding. You stretch forcefully. Your nervous system perceives it as a threat to an already vulnerable joint, and it tightens up even more to protect you. This is why you might feel a little bit looser for a few minutes after a big stretch, but then the stiffness comes roaring back, sometimes even worse than before. The smarter approach, the one we are going to focus on today, isn't to fight against your body's intelligent defense mechanisms. It's to reassure them. It's to prove to that nervous system security guard, through very gentle, very slow, and very safe movement, that you are in control and there is no danger. When the brain feels safe, it will voluntarily let go of that protective tension. The tightness melts away not because you forced it, but because your body no longer feels the need for it. This is a fundamental shift in perspective, moving from a battle against your body to a conversation with it. Now that we understand that our goal is to reassure the nervous system rather than force a stretch, we can introduce the movement itself. We are going to call this the gentle pendulum activation, and the name is very intentional. Gentle is our guiding principle. Pendulum describes the slow, easy, back and forth nature of the motion, and activation is our purpose. We are not trying to lengthen anything. We are trying to gently wake up the small, stabilizing muscles around the hip and knee and remind the brain how to control them in a pain-free way. The beauty of this movement is its simplicity and its safety. You will do it lying on your back, in your bed, before the gravity and pressure of standing up even enter the equation. This is the lowest stakes environment you can possibly create for your joints, which is exactly what we want. We are starting the conversation with your body in a whisper, not a shout. The goal here is not to achieve a huge range of motion. The goal is to initiate any range of motion that is completely 100% pain-free. This is about quality over quantity. A tiny, smooth, controlled movement is infinitely more valuable than a large, jerky, painful one. So let's walk through this together. I want you to imagine you're in your bed right now. The alarm has just gone off, and you're feeling that familiar, dreaded stiffness. Here is your new first move of the day. You're going to be lying comfortably on your back. If you need a small pillow under your head, that's perfectly fine. Your legs are out relatively straight, but not locked. Just let them be soft and relaxed. Take a moment to just breathe. Take a slow breath in and a long breath out. Let your body feel the support of the mattress beneath you. There's no rush. Now we're going to focus on one leg at a time. Let's start with your right leg. Your entire focus should be on making this movement as slow and as smooth as humanly possible. Think of moving through honey, not air. You are going to begin by very, very slowly sliding the heel of your right foot along the bed, up towards your hip. You are not lifting your foot. The heel stays in contact with the sheets the entire time. This is key because it keeps the movement grounded and supported. The goal is to bend your knee and your hip. Here is the most important instruction of this entire video. You only go as far as you can without any, and I mean any, sharp pain. You might feel a gentle sensation of muscles working or a very mild pulling, but pain is a red light. It is not a goal to push through. For some of you, on a particularly stiff morning, that might mean you only bend your knee a few inches, and that is perfectly 100% okay. It's a victory. The size of the movement does not matter. The pain-free quality of the movement is everything. Once you've reached that point, that easy, pain-free end of your range, you're going to pause for just a second. No bouncing, no pushing further, just a gentle pause. Then, just as slowly, just as smoothly, you are going to slide your heel back down the bed to the starting position. That's it. That is one repetition. An incredibly slow, mindful slide up to the point of ease. A brief pause, and an incredibly slow, mindful slide back down. After you return to the start, give that leg a moment to fully relax. Then you'll repeat the movement. Maybe you'll do this 5 to 8 times on the right side. What you might notice is that on the third or fourth repetition, you can go a tiny bit further without pain than you could on the first. This is your nervous system starting to get the message. Oh, okay. This movement is slow. It's controlled. It's not a threat. Maybe I can release my grip just a little bit. You are literally retraining your brain-body connection in real time. Once you've finished with the right leg, you'll switch and do the exact same thing with the left leg. The same slowness, the same smoothness, the same absolute respect for the pain-free boundary. One side might feel very different from the other, and that's completely normal. This entire process might only take you 2 or 3 minutes, but it's a profound investment in how the rest of your day is going to feel. You're not just moving a joint. All right, let's just take a quick pause here and let that sink in. We are halfway through our discussion, and we've already covered the most critical concepts. We've dismantled the myth that tightness always needs aggressive stretching, and we've reframed it as a protective signal from our nervous system. And you now have a practical, gentle, and safe movement, the gentle pendulum activation, that you can use tomorrow morning to start a new, more positive conversation with your hips and knees. This is a huge step forward. If you're finding this guide helpful and this different perspective is making sense to you, I would be so grateful if you took just a single second to tap that like button below. It really helps the video reach more people like you, people who might be feeling stuck and hopeless, and it lets me know that this approach is resonating. Thank you for that. Now, let's get back to it and explore exactly why this method is so much safer and ultimately more effective for you. So, why is this slow, gentle activation so much more powerful than the forceful stretching you may have tried in the past? The answer lies in building a foundation of trust with your body. Imagine trying to coax a frightened animal out of hiding. You wouldn't run at it, yelling and grabbing. You would use a calm voice, move slowly, and offer it something to show you aren't a threat. A study highlighted by benchmark physical therapy clinics warns about the hidden risks of overstretching, which can increase microtrauma in tissues and exacerbate inflammation, particularly in joints already compromised by arthritis. When you do an aggressive stretch, you are essentially confirming the brain's fear that the joint is in danger. This can trigger what's called a stretch reflex, an involuntary contraction of the muscle you're trying to stretch, which is the body's last-ditch effort to prevent injury. You're literally playing tug-of-war with your own physiology. The gentle pendulum activation does the exact opposite. Because the movement is slow, your brain has time to process the incoming information and recognize that there is no danger. Because it's supported, with your heel on the bed, there's no sense of instability or risk of falling. And most importantly, because you stop before the point of pain, you are actively teaching your nervous system that this range of motion is safe. You are building a new neural pathway. You are creating a positive experience associated with movement, perhaps for the first time in a long time. Each pain-free repetition is like a deposit in a trust fund between your brain and your joints. As that trust builds, the brain begins to realize it doesn't need to keep the muscles in a state of high alert. It can relax its protective grip. The stiffness subsides not because you forced it away, but because the reason for the stiffness, that protective guarding, is no longer necessary. This is a much more sustainable and intelligent path to improved mobility. It's about working smart, not just working hard. It honors the incredible intelligence of your body instead of trying to override it. Now, we need to have an honest conversation about expectations, because this is where so many well-intentioned efforts fall apart. It is absolutely crucial to understand that this one movement, the gentle pendulum activation, is a starting point. It is not a magic bullet. It is the first letter of the first word in a new chapter of your mobility journey. Thinking this one exercise will cure your severe arthritis would be like expecting a single salad to undo years of a poor diet. That's not how our bodies work. The real magic isn't in the movement itself, but in the consistency with which you perform it. The goal is gradual, incremental improvement over time. Some mornings will feel better than others. The key is not to get discouraged. The key is to just show up for those 2 or 3 minutes every single morning. This single activation is a powerful tool, but it's one tool in a larger toolbox. To truly manage severe hip and knee stiffness effectively, you have to look at the bigger picture. This includes getting a proper medical evaluation to understand exactly what's going on in your joints. I once read a story on a health forum about a man who suffered for years with what he was told was a sciatic nerve issue. It was only after he finally saw a hip specialist that an X-ray revealed he had severe bone-on-bone hip arthritis. This is why having a clear diagnosis from a medical professional is non-negotiable. Other factors are also critically important. Think about the surface you sleep on for 8 hours a night. And of course, this one activation should eventually be part of a broader, gentle exercise program. This activation is the key that unlocks the door, but you still have to walk through it. Finally, I want to leave you with what might be the most powerful tool of all, a sense of hope and empowerment. Living with chronic pain can be an incredibly isolating experience. It's easy to fall into a mindset of defeat, to feel like you are a passive victim of your condition. But the moment you start to see yourself as an active participant in your own care, everything begins to change. The knowledge you've gained today is power. You now have a safe, practical tool to begin providing that reassurance every single morning. Bless your day. Remembering tomorrow is awaiting that perfect day. Everything you do is done the right way. This shifts you from a place of helplessness to a place of action. You are no longer just waiting for the pain to happen to you. There's a growing body of research on the connection between our mindset and our experience of pain. While hope isn't a cure, it is a powerful therapeutic tool. A hopeful, proactive mindset can genuinely influence your brain's chemistry and neural pathways, potentially reducing the intensity of pain signals. So I encourage you to see this journey not as a battle against your body, but as a project of partnership. Your body is doing its best with the resources it has. Your job is to give it better resources, better movement, better understanding, and better support. You have the ability to influence how you feel. Let's quickly summarize the incredible progress we've made together today. You came here looking for relief from severe hip and knee stiffness, and you're leaving with so much more than just another exercise. Your first win is a new understanding. You now know that the intense stiffness you feel is often a protective mechanism, not a simple lack of flexibility. Your second win is a new tool. You have the gentle pendulum activation. And your third and most important win is a new perspective. You are not a victim of your pain. Now, I would love to hear from you. This is how we all learn and grow together. In the comments below, please share which part of our conversation today was the biggest aha moment for you. Was it the idea of tightness being a signal of weakness? Or was it the concept of reassuring your nervous system instead of fighting it? Sharing your experience can be incredibly encouraging for others on this same path. And if you found this deep dive guide valuable and you want more content that respects your intelligence and empowers you on your health journey, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Be well, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next one.